Is she there, or is she trying to get
Welcome to the IndyKast. For the last 4 years, bringing to you pop culture, professional wrestling, and a splash of crass. Now your hosts, Chad and Shelli Allen, Zach Romero, and Luna Liz. This is the IndyKast.
Stacy's Stacy, do you remember?
Greetings, everybody. Welcome once again to the IndyKast. Chad Allen, Shelli botching, trying to flip me off. How did you botch that?
I don't know. Can't work my fingers tonight.
So, an Allen episode, we do not have the fully gimmicked Romeros here this week. We do have a guest with us this week, though, honey.
All right, not just us talking.
Not just us talking this time. No, we have with us probably the queen of Atlanta wrestling right now, I would dare say. A big-time star in Atlanta Wrestling Entertainment, who is always a friend of ours. Recently was in the Shine Nova tournament they just did fairly recently, and went very far into the tournament, too. We'll definitely get to talk about that. Right now, honey, we have with us the girl on fire, Kiera Hogan, is with us.
Wow.
So, Kiera, thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
So, Kiera, we start out every episode the same way. We like to call it the lightning round. No, honey, I do not have the sound effects, so lucky for you.
Thank goodness for everyone.
So, I still do not have my soundboard on me here. Shelli is going to ask a few quick lightning round style questions. You can answer them as quickly or as long as you like, and we'll go ahead and go from there. So, honey, the floor is yours.
All right. Well, Kiera, I'll get the easiest question out of the way. When did you debut, and who trained you?
I debuted April 17th, 2015, and I was trained by Curtis Hughes.
The big cat, Curtis Hughes.
Right.
Very cool.
Big cat Curtis Hughes.
And what would you say was your first wrestling memory?
First wrestling memory was a Monday Night Raw episode when I was 12 years old. The first man I saw was Jeff Hardy, and he was on a ladder. And the first two women I saw were Mickie James and Trish Stratus.
Cool.
Good people to go with there.
Yeah.
So.
Well, when you're out on the road, what is your favorite music to listen to?
I'm a rock listener. My favorite band is The Pretty Reckless. They're pretty indie right now, but I'm hoping they come to mainstream. But I love rock music, so The Pretty Reckless, Flyleaf. I listen to AC/DC, stuff like that.
Very nice.
Oh man, Zach's gonna be so mad he couldn't ask you more questions about that.
This is true.
So the next question's kind of an odd one then. Elvis or the Beatles?
The Beatles.
That's what we call the Pulp Fiction question, honey, because that was,
I know.
You're either an Elvis person or a Beatles person. By the way, Beatles is the correct answer in my world, but that's just me. So
I know. I'm a Yellow Submarine kind of girl, so then we even have a debate of time period of Beatles music.
So, do you want me to read that one? You're looking at my handwriting.
Can you please read this question, Mr.?
So, your nickname is obviously the girl on fire, and we'll talk more about that in a little bit. Because that is your nickname, what is your favorite thing to get when you go to get barbecue?
I love ribs.
Now, do you like are you more baby back? Do you like the big ribs, or which way do you like to go?
I'm usually a baby back ribs person.
Baby back?
And let's be honest, when we talk about barbecue, we're in the South. So do you like your smothered with barbecue, kind of Georgia style, or do you like the Memphis dry rub?
So sauce or dry, wet or dry?
Yeah.
Would you like your ribs wet or dry?
I'm definitely pretty saucy.
There we go. See, so she goes with me on that one, because I'm definitely more of a sauce person. You're definitely a dry rub type of person.
I like it spicy.
So,
I like it.
Okay, honey, and then your favorite question.
My favorite question I get to ask everybody, because it's a vitally important decision. Is it Marvel or DC?
Say that one more time.
Marvel or DC?
DC.
Now, why DC? Very interesting, because a lot of people say Marvel.
Well, my boyfriend would kill me if I said Marvel, so definitely DC.
Okay.
So are you a superhero fan?
Yeah, my boyfriend's got me into the superhero movies and comics and stuff. The more we've been dating, I've been getting into it a little bit more.
So now, who's your boy? And I'm not going to throw you out there because I'm not sure who you're dating. Your personal life is none of our business. But so who's your boy? So who's your favorite now, and who does your boyfriend like then?
My boyfriend is definitely a Batman fan.
Okay. Nothing wrong with that, by the way. Batman's the correct answer. So,
and have you picked a superhero that's your favorite?
I'm actually a villain fan. I love the Joker and Harley Quinn, of course.
We're a villain's household.
Yes.
So yeah. We're very Joker, Harley Quinn here.
This is true.
I'm going to dress up as Poison Ivy this weekend. So.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's going to be super fun.
So now, training. So how was it training with Mr. Hughes? I'm very interested because I know a lot of people have kind of come through his school that I think is now being run by, because he retired, if I remember correctly, and the school's now being run by A.R. Fox, if I'm right, correct?
Yes.
So how was it training? How was it training with the big cat?
Well, Mr. Hughes is a pretty stern guy. He likes things the way they are. He's pretty old school. Actually, not pretty, always old school. He's definitely old school. He's all about the foundation of wrestling. He was very stern, but he was very confident in everything that he had to say. I loved his training. I think a lot of people are missing foundation as far as professional wrestling. They're more about the indie high flying type wrestling, but he definitely had us work on the foundation of professional wrestling. So I really liked that he was very stern and he knew what he was teaching. But he was an amazing trainer, and I still talk to him often. He's actually coming out of retirement, if you will, and opening up a new school. Helping train in a new school run by Heath Slater, otherwise known as Heath Miller, at a place in Atlanta called Face to Face Wrestling.
And actually very interesting. So, and you're, I know you're a part of that. I actually saw an announcement not too long ago about you being a trainer at Heath Slater School. How do you feel? Because you've only been in the industry for a few years now, so not too long. But I'm very interested, because of how well you've come along in just those couple of years. How do you think you're going to feel going into the training aspect of it?
I'm definitely nervous. It was kind of crazy to be asked to be an assistant trainer. Like you said, I haven't been in the business for long. I've been in the business for about 4 years, and I've been wrestling for about 2. Before I started actually wrestling and training, I would go to WWA4 and sit and watch practice for 2, 3, 4, 5 hours before I even stepped into a ring. So I pretty much had a kind of grasp on everything before I even got in the ring and trained. I'm more of a hands-on type person, so and I'm very particular on what I actually like to see. So I think that'll come in to play. They also want to bring in a lot of newer eyes to watch wrestling, because wrestling has kind of changed as far as old school and what people like to see. I think people like WWE still like the old school aspect, but of course, they want kind of a new school feel with me and another wrestler, another trainee of Mr. Hughes, Odinson, as part of the assistant training system. So, but I was actually very excited to be asked to be a trainer. I probably won't have too much say, especially with Hughes and Jazz and Heath Miller being a part of it. But I hope to, get my little 2 cents in as far as a fan and as a worker, what I like to see as far as wrestling.
Very nice, yeah. And Odinson obviously does a lot of time here in the Florida area as well. So he's usually all over things like ACW and Full Impact Pro. Has definitely been making a name for himself as well. So yeah, having that new school vibe with the two of you in there to kind of almost, I don't want to say counterbalance, but it's kind of an offset to the very old school people like Jazz and Mr. Hughes that are going to be in there. That's only going to help the people that are coming through that training school. So,
yeah, definitely.
So,
I think as someone who watches a lot of wrestling, I like a mix of both good foundational wrestling and some high flying tricks, or some high, more rope, top rope kind of moves. I want him to mix them together.
Right.
So it'll be nice to know that some of the new wrestlers are getting trained in some of both.
So,
yeah, definitely.
To kind of follow up the training, we put it out there for people to send us in questions, and I'm going to go ahead and go to one of those right now, actually. One of the people actually on the AWE fan board, a company that you do a lot with, wanted to know, because basically you started out more in a valet role and have now become one of the top indie talents. He wanted to know kind of what helped you grow that fire to get to that point, to get to this point that you're at now.
Well, the key word is fire. I've always been a fan of wrestling. I just remember watching wrestling with my dad and my brother when I was a kid, and just when I saw women's wrestling, I was so intrigued by how powerful the women were and what a different career choice that was, especially being an athlete. I played soccer for 10 years. I also danced and did cheerleading as well. But coming out of high school, I knew I wanted to be a wrestler because I was such a fan of it. But I started off as an announcer and interviewer, obviously doing like PWX for a whole year. And then I knew I wanted to be a wrestler, like a performer. So I had to kind of pull back. And of course, during training, I became a manager to kind of help with like the performance side of wrestling. It kind of helped with my character and like my different aspects of work, like emotion and things of that nature. And then, of course, when I officially had my debut, it was kind of exhilarating and overwhelming, and definitely a dream come true to have my first wrestling match because, being a fan and then, of course, following your dreams and having to fight so hard to do what you love when people doubt you, and to finally be able to show them, like, this is what I'm meant to do and this is where I'm meant to be, was definitely an accomplishment.
So, and speaking of accomplishments, recently you got to be part of the most recent Shine tournament, where you definitely made it very far into that tournament before losing to, I believe you lost to the ultimate person and ended up winning at Priscilla Kelly. Was this your first experience in Shine? I'm trying to remember if this was your debut or had you been there previously?
No, I had been there 2 times previously.
Okay.
I had a sparkle match last December against Lindsay Snow, and then, of course, I came back and I had my first official Shine match against Priscilla Kelly, and then I joined the Cutie Pie Club that night.
So tell us a little bit about one of the things I did want to bring up. Tell us a little bit about the Cutie Pie Club.
Well, the Cutie Pie Club is officially me, Aria Blake, and the Cutie Pie herself, Candy Cartwright. We're just a group of mean girls, pretty much. We're the bad girls club of Shine Wrestling. I feel like Shine is missing a lot of factions, so I feel like they wanted to bring a faction back, and we are that like mean girl faction to bring that kind of heelish feel back to Shine, because there's not a lot of story, and I feel like with this there will be a lot of storytelling with the Cutie Pie Club, so you never know.
As someone who's a huge fan of heels, I'm always excited to see a heel stable come about. I hope you guys can bring that kind of fire and energy to the Shine shows. They're really, I really think that they would benefit from that. So.
Yeah. So, and they definitely made their presence felt all over that tournament.
Yes.
definitely a lot of interfering and helping each other out as best as they could on that one. So.
Yes.
So
I was in 5 of the 9 matches in the final day, so
nice.
Definitely made my presence known.
So, and I'm assuming you're probably looking forward to obviously a great working relationship with Shine. I mean, obviously, other than a rematch with Priscilla Kelly or fighting Lufisto, is there anybody on that Shine roster that you'd be interested in tangling with?
Oh, definitely. I think every opponent has a different challenge. So I'm not opposed to not wrestling anybody. I think every person is a different challenge. I actually ended up wrestling Eva Lise for AWE Show of the Year last year, and I ended up losing. So I would definitely want to wrestle Eva Lise again. That is something that I really want to do. I love working with her. I definitely want to wrestle Eva Lise again, so hopefully we can make it known at Shine. This will be something that honestly would be magic, especially with her being a baby face now. I think we could really do some damage during that match. Of course, I will want to wrestle Lufisto and Allison Kay and all the top women. But me and Priscilla Kelly have been going at it for 3 years, so every match is something different, but it always ends up being the same. So I just would like to hope that every opponent is a different challenge. But, I always want to tell a good story with emotion, character work, our ability to, tell a good story.
Definitely. And like you said, you and Priscilla Kelly have been telling, a very long-going story for the past 3 years obviously now over multiple companies. So, would you say that she's probably the, I guess to use the DC parlance, is she the Batman to your Joker in this instance then? Are you guys just set to fight forever, basically?
Pretty much. We started the same time. She had her debut a couple months before mine. Her debut was in March. Mine was in April. So we pretty much started the same time, trained the same amount of time, had our debuts around the same time, and then with AWE, we kind of ran together. Then we started running up and down the East Coast together. So now it's kind of ended up in Florida at Shine, and we're still running with each other at AWE. So I think it'll always be a Priscilla Kelly and Kiera head-to-head type thing, especially in the Georgia wrestling scene. We're kind of two of the main competitors as far as women goes, but of course there's a lot of women in Georgia. But I feel like she is definitely the Joker to my Batman. And
then, like you said, there's a lot of women in Georgia. Georgia lately is definitely becoming a bit of a hotbed for wrestling. So, kind of compare and contrast the working for a place like Shine versus wrestling for AWE, which is almost like it's like a rock concert for a rock concert style wrestling show. How do those two kind of compare?
Well, a lot of people like to think of AWE as like the Fight Club. How people stand around the ring and they cheer us on, they beat the mat when something's really good. It's definitely got that underground wrestling type feel. Mm-hmm. It's definitely adult friendly, which is always awesome, especially in Georgia where everything is so conservative and so family friendly. I feel like AWE brings that adulterated underground Fight Club style wrestling back to Georgia. And it's kind of starting to heat up more and more the more shows we put on, especially with women's wrestling. They're starting to bring a lot of women's wrestlers down to Georgia, which I'm really excited about because in some aspects, a lot of times in Georgia, we kind of get stuck in our element, so we have to break away. So I feel like AWE has started to finally bring in a different type of wrestling, which is Southern Strong Style, to Georgia, and it's starting to kind of spread out into other places, like in other regions. But it's definitely different from Shine. I feel Roar, our women's division, is actually no rules. So all of our matches, all the women's matches are absolutely no rules. So it's definitely a different aspect from Shine. Whereas at Shine, I'm a heel, a part of the Cutie Pie Club. I'm the ultimate baby face at AWE. I am known as the girl on fire, A1 since day one, and as homegrown can be. And that is exactly what I am, especially in Georgia. I was born, raised, and bred in Georgia. So I feel like it's two different type of Kiera Hogans you get between AWE and Shine.
And it's always good when you can have that kind of character dichotomy between the two and be able to kind of do both sides of that. So, if I remember correctly, not all that long ago, didn't you and Sue Young have a battle in I can't remember if it was a Roar show or an AWE show?
Yeah, it was a Roar show. Mm-hmm.
So, what's it like? What's it like working with the Undead Bride?
First of all, I was so nervous to wrestle Sue because I know how much she's grown in the past few years with her new character. She's definitely become a fan favorite, even though her gimmick is something completely different from what we're used to seeing. As far as women goes, I was definitely nervous but very excited. And when that match ended, I was, first of all, overwhelmed with emotion because Sue took me to my limit. She took me somewhere that I had never gone before as far as wrestling goes. She made me experience new things, like different ways of doing things. She's very creative. She has a very creative mind, and she knew that this was something huge for me. And I was one of her last matches of last year, so she gave me a rose at the end of our match. she definitely took me to my wit's end when it came to wrestling in such a match like that. We definitely tore down the house that night, and I would definitely do it again, which I kind of did when I took her WSU Spirit title.
So, and actually also a great one, another very interesting company, WSU, which is connected with Combat Zone, if I remember correctly. How is that atmosphere? Because obviously Combat Zone is a whole nother level of crazy some days. Possibly, maybe one of the few things that might be crazier than the Fight Club atmosphere of AWE.
Oh, it's definitely crazy. Again, it's one of those places, especially for women, that you can kind of take it there and, not have any regrets at the end of it. I wrestled my first time in February of last year against Taylor Hendricks, which was somebody I had been wanting to work with for a very long time. Again, she was one of those people that kind of took it to my wit's end. But, of course, I'd been going back to Voorhees for the last few months, and now I'm the WSU Spirit Championship, which is my first title, my first major title, my first title ever. So it's kind of crazy to be the WSU Spirit Champion, especially coming from a lot of women that have held the belt. So now I have to kind of, build myself up to be like those women, which I'm kind of excited that I had my first title defense. I've been holding the belt for so long. I kind of want to be that fighting champion because of my gimmick. It's the girl on fire. It's the girl that never lets her fire die. She wants to stay hot. She wants to keep that heat going. So I'm kind of excited, like, I get to keep going up there and defending my belt, and I'm actually being able to defend my belt in other companies because they want me to be a fighting champion since WSU doesn't run every month or every couple weeks. But it's definitely still got that same kind of AWE feel. Like, you can take it there, you can take it to that level, and of course they have a range of talent on that roster. Mia Yim, Su Young, Mercedes Martinez. It's just that's an amazing locker room to be in.
Yeah, WSU's definitely a place to watch if you're not obviously already. Amazing company. So,
okay. Yeah. Looks like another fan question was asking, when are you going to be back in Chicago?
I actually don't know. I'm really trying to get back to Shimmer. Like, that's been a huge goal of mine the last few months. I really wanted to go when they ran a couple weeks ago, but I wasn't able to get there. Unfortunately, I had AWE that Sunday, and I'm trying to get in contact so I can come back up there. I love Chicago. I love wrestling at Resistance Pro and Shimmer and doing Rise, but I definitely want to get back to Shimmer. Especially because I respect Shimmer so much. And the weekend that I did Rise, it was a weekend that I'll never forget. That weekend, honestly, and to be brutally honest, made me love wrestling, especially women's wrestling even more. I wasn't able to do much at the Rise show, so to be able to do Shimmer that weekend and to have my name chanted and to get that reaction that I did really surprised me, and it just made me fall in love with wrestling even more that weekend because all of these people came to watch women's wrestling. And that just goes to show that women's wrestling is something big, and it's something that's starting to get a huge buzz. Not to say that the buzz is starting to get bigger and bigger every time something bigger happens. It's crazy to say that I can be a part of that and to have such a big influence, even though I haven't been working that long. But I definitely want to get back to Chicago because I loved wrestling in Chicago.
Is there any particular companies that you maybe haven't been to yet that you'd like to add to the resume? Or are there places that obviously other than WWE is the obvious answer to that question, but independent-wise, any place you'd like to work you haven't had a chance to yet?
I haven't been to the West Coast yet. I've been trying to get to the West Coast for a year or so now. No particular promotion. I just want to kind of bring my energy over to the West Coast. I feel like I'm kind of at this plateau right now where I'm kind of not stuck, but I'm just plateaued on the South. I mean, not the South, but the East Coast. I've been to Texas, and I've wrestled in Texas and Indiana and Kentucky, and of course Chicago, Ohio. But I kind of want to start making my way even further west. But I don't know. Beyond Wrestling and Women's Wrestling Revolution is definitely somewhere that I'm trying to go. Like I said, I've been with WSU for a few months now, so I'm hoping that sooner or later I'll be able to do Women's Wrestling Revolution, which is the sister promotion to Beyond Wrestling. Mm-hmm. I would also like to go to New York, definitely. I was supposed to go to New York in a couple weeks, but something came up. That's about it, honestly. Like, I just really want to be able to get my name out there as much as I can and show people like who Kiera Hogan is, no matter where it is, how many people, just to be able to wrestle and, share my story. And, that's all I really want to do.
Very nice.
Awesome.
I don't have a great segue for this, but I'm going to go to it because we still have one more fan. We had one more fan question. And they want to know what's your favorite pizza topping, so I'll get that on. So, I guess if we go Chicago and New York, there's our pizza connection there. So, what's
I'm pretty basic. I just like pepperoni. I'm like an all meat girl, so I love like pepperoni and ham and beef, and I'm like the works of the meat. Although my favorite pizza place ever is in Chicago, which I got to go to with my idol Mickey James and a couple other people, and Giordano's in Chicago has the best pizza, and you can quote me on that. Literally, they have the best pizza. So if you ever go to Chicago, please eat there, because that is my absolute favorite pizza.
So funny story on Giordano's, actually. So next time you're in Florida, you'll have to go to Orlando, because they actually have a restaurant in Orlando that was recommended to us by Brian Cage. And my wife and I tried to go WrestleMania weekend, because we were obviously in Orlando for WrestleMania. And we tried to go before WrestleMania and did not realize that it takes upwards of 45 minutes for them to get the full pizza ready. So we did not get to have.
Are you talking about the one that's in that little square? It's kind of like hidden.
Yes.
Oh my God! I tried to go there WrestleMania weekend too, and it was like a 2-hour wait.
Right.
Yeah.
We walked right in. We got right in there because we went at like 2:00 in the afternoon on a Sunday. But yeah, 45 minutes for the pizza, and we're like, no, that's not going to work, and so we're going to have to go back up at some point. So
yeah, so we were like teased with it because Brian talks he waxed on poetically about this pizza.
Brian Cage was like the bard for this place. It was amazing that, like, if he could have broken out into song, he would have. So, and we wouldn't have stopped him because it's Brian Cage, but that's neither here nor there.
I definitely second that movement that Brian Cage is definitely, he knows what he's talking about. It's the best pizza.
I have to say, I take eating advice from that man. He can put it down. So, there's no question. If he says this is the place to eat, I'm going to just agree, because he's a little bit scary. Yeah.
But then again, he also sat at a Golden Corral for 6 hours, so I mean, can we totally take that?
Jeez, really?
He told that story. Yes, he sat at a Golden Corral for 6 hours here in Florida again.
Yeah.
And what he would do is he was eating with one friend for a while, and then when that friend left, he just called another friend who then came up and met him, and he had 3 friends rotate with him, and apparently it was just going between, like, what did he say? It was meat. Like, straight up meat, and then I think, like, desserts.
Desserts. It was like meat and desserts, meat and desserts.
What?
So.
Yeah, for like 6 hours. And then I believe...
And then he wrestled.
They asked him to leave.
And they might have. And then he went and wrestled that night. So,
yeah.
Because Brian Cage.
Oh my God, I can't.
I love that story. So.
Yeah, he's an interesting one.
Yeah.
So, I think I will segue.
Yes.
Into...
Are you sticking the food segue here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's stick with food. So... We know that you do the drives. When you're out on the road, it's late at night, and you're hungry. The beautiful lights are starting to shine ahead. Are you pulling off to Sheetz or Wawa?
Oh, well, Sheetz is up north, so when I go up north, I have no choice but to go to Sheetz, but definitely when I'm down in Florida, Wawa, but, we have in Georgia, we have Quick Trip, which is pretty much the same thing. Like, they've started to kind of get that same kind of feel. They have the little thing where you can order the food, so I think Quick Trip kind of got hip to Sheetz and Wawa and decided, well, we need to do that too. So I think Quick Trip is trying to slowly catch up to the Wawa and Sheetz hype. But I don't think it's the same.
Is there a preference between Sheetz and Wawa? Because you've experienced both. obviously you've come down here and gotten Wawa, and when you go up into the Jersey area, sheets are all over the place.
So if they were both across the street, which one would you pick?
I prefer Wawa's food.
That's right. That's right.
Like, I've traveled with Priscilla, and she told me that Sheetz was this best place, and blah blah blah. And I just was not impressed. I was like, "What?
That's
this is
right.
no Wawa's definitely best."
That's right, because you have great taste. That's why.
That's the first wrong answer she gave. I'm sorry, honey. That's just the way it goes.
We are a house divided.
But you know what? This does make me happy to know, even though we haven't had her on the show yet. When we do get Priscilla Kelly on the show, I know she'll give the correct answer.
Oh,
I'm very happy to know that.
Cheating now.
She definitely likes Sheetz better.
Well, I mean, maybe she hasn't experienced the splendor of Wawa
If she
enough.
comes down, she's been down to Florida too.
I feel like she hasn't had a proper Wawa visit then. I don't know. She just doesn't.
Maybe she didn't.
Because I think Chip wasn't Chip a Chip Day. I believe also a.
I believe he was on.
I believe he's on Team Sheetz as well. So
yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, he probably is.
There has to be some people who choose wrong. There just has to be.
And today it was Kiera Hogan. That's okay. We like her anyway. So Kiera, we have two questions that we ask all of our guests. The first one starts off a little dark, so I apologize in advance. In the performance art that we all love here, professional wrestling, we tend to lose certain talents a little early. So if you had the opportunity you get out your Ouija board or something, and you're able to bring one person back to work with, to talk with, to wrestle, who would that be and why? Basically, what ghost would you like to wrestle?
Probably Fabulous Moolah, honestly. She's literally one of the biggest influences on women's wrestling. And to just pick her brain and to just have even a conversation, not even to wrestle, but a conversation on what she had to go through to be who she is, I would love to hear that story. I'm really big on hearing other people's stories and seeing like what got them into wrestling and what struggles and obstacles they had to go through. And I just think her story would be something to hear. Like, I don't know, I just even to have a training session with her would be absolutely crazy for me. So definitely the Fabulous Moolah.
Great answer. And
still the world record holder for longest title reign ever.
Yes.
He's in the Guinness Book of World Records.
Right, there you go.
For like
inspirational woman.
46 years or something like that. It was amazing.
She's a tough broad. So.
Question number 2. We here at the IndyKast believe that all animals in nature have certain traits that help with their survival. For instance, giraffes have the long neck, rhinos have the big horns, etc., etc. We believe that the human's trait is the ability to use tools. So, that being said, Kiera Hogan, Girl on Fire, if you could fight any animal, what animal would it be and what weapon would you use?
What animal and what weapon? Well, one, I have to go with my element, fire. Is fire a tool?
Go with it,
or
yeah.
An element?
Oh, a torch.
Okay.
We could say a torch.
Well,
So.
then can I fight any animal because I could just burn them?
Yeah, I mean, but do you have a particular?
Is there one that you're trying to take out?
Yeah, is there one that really pisses you off that you're?
I don't like sharks. I feel like sometimes, I mean, honestly, they're probably misunderstood most of the time, but I don't know, like predatory animals that I feel like that just kill for the blood and not for the actual food. Sometimes I think sharks are misunderstood, but definitely maybe a shark.
I feel like fire and a shark is a really... Yeah.
Although the fire might burn out because it would be in the water, so I don't think that will work.
I don't know, if you get the shark jumping out of the water and you can kind of catch it with a torch, then it's out of its own element. You've really got it. So
I was like, Jaws-like moment.
It's a real fight there. You've got a real situation there. So
I feel like the shark has a fighting chance in this regard.
This is true. She's given the shark an opportunity.
Yeah.
So.
Right.
So. Well, Kiera, this is the time in the episode that one Mr. Brian Cage has also given us permission to officially call get your shit in. So please let our listeners know where they can find your social media, where they can get your merchandise, et cetera, et cetera. The floor is yours.
Well, I'm on Facebook. I have a personal and a fan page called Kiera Hogan. I'm probably the only Kiera Hogan I know, so it probably won't be that hard to find. I'm also on Instagram at Hogan Knows Best 18, which is probably a gimmick infringement. But I'm also on Twitter as Hogan Knows Best 3. I have a Snapchat, Hogan K2, which again is gimmick infringement. I also have a pro wrestling tee store. I only have 2 designs up in a black and a white. But please buy my shirts because nobody wants to buy them, and people are asking me about them, and nobody wants to buy them now. So please buy my shirts. And I also do sell pictures and stuff. If you want to get some pictures or T-shirts or anything signed, I will probably have a P.O. box set up in the next month or so. But I have a business email where you can email me any orders at KieraHoganBusiness@yahoo.com. I think that's about it.
All right, excellent. Well, Kiera, once again, we appreciate you being on the show today, and to all of our dozens and dozens, we always thank you for listening. Until next time, everybody, I am Chad Allen.
And I'm Shelli Allen.
And as always, deuces.